sometimes you have to go and take your pretty number sitting in the top 10 of the middleweight division and say, I'm going to put it on the line against the guy who's ranked number 14. Why? He beat me once upon a time. That's the situation we're dealing with here. Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. Short notice, main event, UFC Vegas 90. We're here to break it down, folks. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G. I am your host. Breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Glory, ego, we know all about some of that stuff, man. So when somebody has gotten your number, but you've surpassed them in the rankings, sometimes it's only right. You got to go back, double back, and get your lick back, right? What do you think?
100%, Derek. If the ego isn't there in these fighters, man, I don't know what's really pushing them, I should say. This one's going to be a fun one. We'll see if he can get it back, man. We'll see if something's living in Brendan Allen's head. Either way, it's going to be a very fun weekend.
It's a difference between I lost that fight and this dude knocked me out. Listen, I want that championship, but even champions will say, hey, I still want to fight that dude that beat me, bro. I got to go get that back. And we'll see if that happens this weekend. But what's more important is that the perspective we're coming from is we say short notice event. You got a dog in Brendan Allen who's surging more than ever before. And now you have a mighty obstacle because AJ, I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it later in the show. I'll say it 20 more times. Styles make fights. That's what we're here to break down today. So before we jump into things, folks, take a quick look down at the scoreboard below. We are a cast of folks here who hold ourselves accountable. Both of us right now, we came off of a rough week. I think it's safe to say that, AJ, but we're not looking behind. We're not pulling a Brendan Allen and looking behind us. We're only looking forward. Let's bring up the big screen. We got your UFC Vegas 90 bet sheet right here. Don't got a lot of words for you. This is where you take a screenshot, run to your local sports book, and then come hit the comment section below after we won you a ton of money. It's a very easy equation right there. But AJ, I will call upon you as I always do because we were a little rough on our consensus picks last week. What's the theme? UFC Vegas 90 consensus picks.
Theme this week, Derek, is the new age, man. This is the new age of the UFC. New stars, new talent's going to be coming in, and all these young guns have something to prove. It's going to be a very fun weekend.
It sure is. So, your 4 consensus picks: Alexander Hernandez, Ignacio Bahamondes, Walter Walker, Johnny Walker's little big brother, and then Charlie Campbell right there, man. So run with it. All right, props. Now, we want to talk about some streaks. You're on a hot one right now. 3 in a row. Will we make it 4? Who knows? But we got Hernandez versus Jackson. Over 2.5 rounds at plus 125. AJ, what do you like about it?
Man, I like it because both of these guys are very kind of stuck in their ways. I mean, Alexander Hernandez, we've seen him growing, but this could be an absolute dog fight, and I think it's going to last over 2.5.
There we go. On my end, I'm looking to bounce back. I was neck and neck with AJ, but we took a rough one last week. This week, I said, let's get Piera Rodriguez decision plus 105 on the books right here. She's fighting Cynthia Calvillo, LFA former champion versus LFA former champion. I'm taking the young, spry gun, not the 36-year-old Calvillo. All love. She has more experience, but Piera Rodriguez is the young gun ready to come and get it. So, with that being said, one more piece of business, and it's your parlays right here. AJ, I'm going to go first right here because I'm going to put y'all on right now. 2 over 2.5 rounds. We're rolling overs. Women MMA. It's a lock. We're cashing this thing in, right? Again, Piera Rodriguez versus Cynthia Calvillo over 2.5 rounds goes directly with my prop lock play with the decision for Rodriguez. And then Norma Dumont versus guess who? The Iron Lady, Germaine Durandamy, GDR, over 2.5 rounds. Put it together. It's minus 140. We're taking that to the bank, and we are cashing it. AJ, you're on the other side. You got some unders. Charlie Campbell, Trevor Peak, under 1.5. Chepe Mariscal versus the last Pirate Morgan Charriere, under 2.5 rounds, plus 350. That's juice right there. We cash in today, yeah?
Absolute cash right here, folks. I mean, the other prop lock right here is the overs. I'm going the unders on this one. I'm gonna make some money. Both of these fights are gonna be very violent, very vicious, and very fun to watch. We'll expect knockouts or expect finishes at least.
That's it. So with that being said, folks, that's all of the info you need to know. If you want the supplemental additional bets that we're going to cover and all of the breakdowns, stick around. Otherwise, your work is done. Screenshot, drop a like, tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what time it is. But AJ, now we're going to do what we do best, and we're going to break down some fights. So let's go ahead and let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks, you know what the business is here today. It's UFC Vegas 90. We're starting with the main event, Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis, the rematch, working all the way down to the opening bout of the main card. But before we do that, of course, as always, I have to give you the friendly reminder that it is time right now. If you made it to this point of the program and you are not subscribed, let's fix that. Subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss our prediction shows, so you don't miss a bag full of cash after the weekend ends and you're the cool guy and all of your friends. That's what we want. That's what we're here to provide. Nothing but value. You know what the business is. So, AJ, let's go ahead and let's run it. Brendan Allen, he is looking sharp right now, man. And if you look at things right now, you say, all right, well, Chris Curtis, you know, it's the Chris Curtis style. You win the fights that sometimes you're not supposed to win. Sometimes you kind of underperform against some people, and you're not finishing people in devastating fashion on a constant basis the way that Brendan Allen is. But again, styles make fights here, AJ. And in their first fight, Chris Curtis put it on Brendan Allen. So my big question to you is, it's the rematch, and the opening odds had Chris Curtis at plus 175. Is that a fair value to you for a man who knocked out Brendan Allen when they fought last?
Seems like a steal to me, Derick, especially like you said, man, Chris Curtis. I'm wondering if he's living in Brendan Allen's head right here, because we said in the intro, it's one thing to get a win over somebody. It's another thing to knock somebody out cold, get the finish on him. That's what Chris Curtis is working with right here. But at the same point, man, we've seen Brendan Allen become so sharp, looking very comfortable in there. I'm curious to see how it folds, man, because if Chris Curtis starts bringing the heat and bringing the knuckles, man, I'm excited to see how Brendan Allen actually handles himself in that octagon going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the big crux here is how much have both of these fighters changed since their original meeting. If you look at it, literally, Brendan Allen's last loss was to Chris Curtis. Curtis, on the other hand, he suffered a couple losses since that win over Allen. So again, there's the ups and downs, the ebbs and the flows. But I think a big part of that minus 210 price tag that you see for Brendan Allen is, well, let's look. 5 of his last 6 wins are by submission. All rear naked choke, AJ. All rear naked choke. So everyone is saying Brendan Allen comes in, takes Chris Curtis down, and he chokes him. And if you look at just the past records, you say, that sounds pretty fair. But let me ask you, I'm going to rattle down the list right now here, AJ, and you just kind of tell me, of these fighters, do any of these fighters have as good takedown defense as Chris Curtis does? Paul Craig, yes or no?
Nah.
Bruno Silva?
No.
Andre Muniz?
Closer. Yeah, maybe.
Christoph Jocko?
No.
Jacob Malkoun?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. That was a good one. And if you watch the fight, it was a washing machine match, man. Brendan Allen was getting taken down. He was taking down Malkoun. That's the one where I give full credit. And I say, all right, you decisioned him. That was awesome. And then after that, you got Sam Alvey, right? So if you compare that, really the only person you fought that has a stylistic kryptonite against you is Jacob Malkoun, and there wasn't a lot done on the feet right there. So this is going to be my preface for arguing the Chris Curtis side. If Chris Curtis can maintain keeping this fight standing, has Brendan Allen's striking repertoire, do you think it's improved enough to be able to give him fits, given that Chris Curtis primarily is a boxer?
I don't think it has, Derick. I mean, in all the fights we've seen that you just listed off with Brendan Allen, man, those last 4, the Jocko, the Muniz, the Silva, the Craig, we haven't had to see Brendan Allen look sharp on the feet. He's been able to get into mixes, get into situations where he's able to then grab a hold and create openings from there and work his jiu-jitsu like we've seen. But having the ability to actually set up a strike, set up a counter, set up a trap, and then get Chris Curtis to fall into it seems a little out of reach for Brendan Allen. I mean, I hope I'm eating crow on Monday, but we'll see, brother.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, people are still hammering that price tag because they say, nonetheless, he's going to get his hands on him. If he does, it's going to be an issue. The other thing that I want to bring up right here is 5 rounds. Let me take off one hand. Five rounds, right? So if he can't get the fight to the ground and it starts hitting rounds 3, 4, and 5, that's when you have to start favoring Chris Curtis. But let's take a look at that prop, man. Plus 700 for a Chris Curtis decision. So the odds makers don't like it. They think if Brendan Allen gets this fight long, he's going to win. If it's short, he's going to win. The only prop that Chris Curtis has an advantage here is the TKO, and you have to just respect. He knocked him out last time. Of course, you're going to give him that. But realistically for you, man, if this fight does go back onto the feet, Chris Curtis, we know this dude's takedown percentage literally in his UFC career is over 90%. It's very, very high. He held Rodolfo Vieira at like over 20 for his takedowns or whatnot. Very dangerous black belt. I just wonder myself, can the Chris Curtis curse pop open again, which is not enough volume to win a fight?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Derick. And that's what worries me about this is Chris Curtis has fallen into this not necessarily a lull, but he's just been very consistent and not really had that moment where he's jumping up and knocking people out, getting starching them cold. He's been really trying to find himself in those decision moments, and arguably, to his own credit, he's been fighting very, very tough fighters right there. But I think it's going to be the same thing, man, trying to find the moments where he can work and not necessarily having the output to get the work done.
Understood. Let's just take a quick look before we kind of wrap this thing up right here, man. If you look at the striking output against Marc-Andre Barriault, that was a record high, man. Look at all of the other numbers that we have right here. In that no contest to Imavov, that doesn't count. It wasn't a full fight, but he was down, right? Against Gastelum, he lost. The fight that he thought he won, he got headbutted in the fight. He was down on the numbers. When he knocked out Buckley, he was down on the numbers. Lost to Hermanson, down on the numbers. It's just kind of across the board, man. Volume tends to be a little bit of an issue. If we're looking on the side of a Brendan Allen, he doesn't really strike a lot because he doesn't need to. He's just going to take you down, and that's what we're paying attention to. 2 takedowns, none against Silva, still choked him out. 1 against Muniz, choked him out. Giagos, all the stuff that we just covered. But look at here. Malkoun did take him down 7 times right here. So Chris Curtis isn't going to pull the takedown out of nowhere, at least in my opinion. But I do think that what's the big argument here? I guess that's the big thing that I want to touch on, because people are going back and forth, and a lot of people are on the Brendan Allen camp, but I feel like we clearly just stated it. It's the grappling of Allen versus the danger of just keeping it standing with Chris Curtis. Can he catch Brendan Allen? Has his striking improved enough? Is that as simple as this fight goes, or is it more complicated than that?
The only other caveat in there I'd add, Derick, is the mental struggle that Brendan Allen's gonna have to get past, man. Once the hands start flowing, right? Once the strikes start coming, having that moment of, oh no, this is a different fight, right? I'm gonna do something different than the last outcome, and not living in the past, living in his head, because everybody does want that one back. It's going to be a rough one. And that right there, that performance, if we see Brendan Allen just absolutely go beast mode and knock out or finish Chris Curtis right here, I'm going to be pretty happy saying Brendan Allen has passed that level of greatness to be able to achieve his own mental status.
It's unorthodox, it's strange, but this is almost the gatekeeper test for Brendan Allen to see, can you get to that upper echelon? So the official pick is this. I like Chris Curtis. I'm rolling with the dog right here. I think it's only right you are rolling with Brendan Allen. So I said, let's take a flyer. Plus 175 money line. Now, I'm going to let you guys know all of this in advance. I'm going to take partial AJ's side, and I'm going to hedge Brendan Allen submission. I was actually just pulling up the numbers right now. This is a sprinkle. This is a sprinkle hedge, and you're going to get Brendan Allen submission at plus 175 right now, same as the line currently. You can cash this in right now. That's the official pick. And with that being said, AJ, let's move on to the co-main event. Alexander, the Great Ape Hernandez, he's trying to get back into the win column, man, against the Leech Damon Jackson. And if you look at these guys, you're pretty much looking at the tail of some guys who had a lot of momentum, and then you drop off, and then you get it, and then you don't. But at the end of the day, stylistically, Damon Jackson is in a situation right now where I think that he needs this win bad to get back on that momentum train that he was at. And his style of fight, I don't know if it's going to be advantageous against an Alexander Hernandez. So you tell me. Alexander Hernandez, good takedown defense, likes to be on the front foot, but that still didn't stop him from getting pieced up by Bill Algeo in his last fight. So does he need to be leading the dance to win this fight against Damon Jackson? Because I think he does.
That's a good question, Derek. Does he need to be leading the dance? I don't necessarily think so. I think if Alexander Hernandez comes in, not necessarily calm, cool, and like patient, but reading things, right? A little more calculated, if you will. Hold on to that veteran mentality that he's really developed on the job. I think Alexander Hernandez can really make this and it's going to suck to say, but like a stale match kind of fight, right? To nullify everything Damon Jackson's doing, stop all the takedowns, stop the grappling, stop all of that, and let's just go and knuckle up. And I think that's going to be the Hernandez strategy going for this fight.
A lot of people are throwing Hernandez in parlays right now. They think that this is more or less a lock. And I think it's far from a lock because I think Damon Jackson's very dangerous. But here's the question, because I like I said, I think he does need to be on that front foot. I think if he takes the Dan Ige approach to the Damon Jackson fight, like how Ige did to Jackson, I think that this could be a very winnable fight, because what's the biggest threat for Damon Jackson? Is it the hands or is it the grappling, in your opinion?
The grappling, in my opinion.
And Alexander Hernandez, not exactly a dude who's going to get taken down a bunch. If we pull up the numbers right now, what we could take a look at is seeing that this is Alexander Hernandez here on the left. Takedown defense, 60% as opposed to 40% for Damon Jackson. And of course, he's taking you down too. So there's the threat of he might land his own takedown. Higher significant strikes landed per minute. Higher, I mean, it's basically the same accuracy right here, a little bit better defense. But in the grand scheme of things, man, I think there's also a very big thing that you have to worry about if you're Damon Jackson, and that's the power of Alexander Hernandez. He corrals you up against that fence. He drops the big right hand on you. It's a problem. And Damon Jackson isn't quite the switch fighter that Bill Algeo is to keep him at range and kind of play with his head right there. So what do we like here? Minus 200 was the open. We take a look at what the numbers are right now, and I got it minus 210 for Hernandez, plus 175 comeback for Damon Jackson. So clearly, Hernandez in the driver's seat right here. Can he get a finish against Damon Jackson? You said over on the prop, so take all of that into consideration.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Derick. I like the decision prop. If you're picking a prop right here, I like that one. Obviously, I'm taking the over. But, man, I mean, could Alexander Hernandez get a finish here? Yeah, it's within the realm of possibility. But I think in order to do that, he's going to need to put himself in a close range proximity to Damon Jackson, where that's going to all where Damon wants to live, man. He's going to grapple him up, grab him, and may the takedown happen? Yes or no. I should say yes or no. Doesn't matter. But either way, then it's a scramble from there, and then Hernandez starts getting going. And that's what I think is going to draw out this long fight, and that's why I like the over on this one.
All right, fair play right there. I think Alexander Hernandez gets the job done. I think he can corral Damon Jackson, kind of control the little eccentric nature, and avoid a submission or pretty much a takedown. And if he does get taken down, I'm confident that he gets back up. So my official pick, Alexander Hernandez. That's actually the Bloody Water Podcast consensus official pick right here. But this is the key. This is the big key right here, AJ. Do you just say through and through, let's get the Alexander Hernandez plus 300 decision? Is that, I mean, that's juice right there if you're that confident in that over 2.5 rounds.
It is juice right there, and better money than what the over prop was providing. So if you're feeling confident on it, folks, I mean, I don't see a finish happening here, so I like the decision. I'm not willing to say to prop lock on it, but it could make you some cash.
All right. Well, if you got them in your parlays, buckle up right there, but it should be a very clear victory for Alexander Hernandez. A little less clear. The last pirate, AJ, Morgan Charriere versus Chepe Mariscal. Now, forgive me, because for the last pirate, I guarantee I'm probably butchering his name. But the point is, this is a bad man right here who I think isn't quite getting the respect that he deserves. So let's talk about it. AJ, the whole entire story this week has been about the line flip. Money is coming in heavy on Mariscal, and rightfully so. This dude's good. He closed as a dog in his last 2 UFC fights and won both fights. One, he won more than the other. Let's just say that Jack Jenkins fight, man. Dude, he popped his arm. So, I mean, you made him pop his arm. It is what it is, right? But let's take a look at the live odds right now. Live odds, minus 120 for the last pirate and plus 100 for Chepe Mariscal. AJ, when I was betting this one, on my sports book, they had him as a pick'em. And I was like, ooh, this is a perfect opportunity if you are a Last Pirate fan to say we're getting him at value, because minus 170, I agree. I'm not sure if that's a price that I'm willing to pay, because this is one of those, in a way, dog or pass type situations. You either roll with the dog, Chepe Mariscal, or you say, I'm not sure if I can call it, because Mariscal is the more tenured fighter. Charriere, on the other hand, this dude is, to me, he's a 5-star prospect, 5-tool prospect, like what they do in baseball or whatever, right? And what I mean by that is, argue it, man. Grappling, this dude can grapple. He did it against Paul Hughes, Cage Warriors. Go back and watch it, right? This dude's tenured there. Striking, crispier striking than Mariscal, in my opinion. There's just one thing, one intangible that Mariscal has that I don't think that Morgan has, and it's dog. Ultra, extra, super dog. You're always game in a fight. There's no quitting, no giving up. You might get tired, but you're never going to give up on yourself. All of that being said, what does Mariscal bring to the table in your eyes that says I need to make him the dog pick?
Well, I got to agree with you on the dog comment, Derick, because Chepe Mariscal deserves to be living in the boneyard, man. This dude is an absolute animal out there. But Mariscal, I think the one thing, I mean, power, obviously, that's one of the things that come to mind. He has that intangible power where he just has crack in him, right? And nonetheless, durable, down for a fight. If Mariscal can make this fight dirty, and not in the sense that we always say dirty, but make this one very troubling, very bloody, man, he's going to look good. And he's going to take that 5-star prospect down a peg or two.
That's the question, though, because I agree. But can he keep it dirty for 15 whole minutes? Because you'll notice in some of these fights, man, he pushes the pace, and I think he's willing to put himself in a position to be tired, because he says, if I'm tired, I know you're gassed, right? But Morgan Charriere, bro, this is a dude who you could try to clinch him up. He got reversals for everything. Again, he's very, very highly skilled. He pops off the page to me. When you see him strike, you're like, ooh, this guy is good. So not a lot to work with if you're looking at just kind of the track record, right? But if you're taking a look at the numbers, I mean, higher strike count for Charriere right now. He got one fight in the UFC. So it's like these numbers almost mean nothing, right? But then again, Mariscal only has 2, right? So it's kind of almost in the same boat. He has 1.5 because the other fight didn't really finish, right? But this is my big question right here, the takedowns. This is really the main thing. I can totally see Mariscal winning this fight purely on just being able to take down Charriere and hold him down. The reason being is that Charriere is a little too prone to jump guillotine, you know what I mean? To put himself in a position where he could still use the good hips, sweep, get back up to his feet, but he accepts the position a little bit too much. That doesn't strike me, though, as a game plan that Mariscal would take. He seems too game of a fighter to just play the lay and pray approach. So do you see this fight ending in a finish right here?
I do see this fight ending in a finish, Derick. I mean, when I was breaking this one down, I was trying to think of all the ways in which this could go, because you're right, man. Charriere has great footwork, crispy hands, and a very smart approach about going into the fight. Well, that all gets thrown out the window when you got a dog chasing you down, hunting for your head. And that's what Mariscal is going to do in this one. And that's why I see a finish, whether it's a counter striking of Charriere or whether it's the actual just pummeling that Mariscal is able to put on people. I think this fight's going to end in a finish.
What does it mean to you that for Charriere, the 2 most recent losses that he's had this decade in the 2020s have come to 2 former champions in Cage Warriors?
What does it mean for Charriere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it speaks. It's funny because you would think like, man, where does this kid come from and have all this talent and have things going? But the proof's right there in the pudding, man. Having 2 losses to champs right there and seeing how well this guy performs, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
Given that this is such an erratic fight, I'm really hesitant to place any props on this one. I'm more of, again, either dog, pass, or since it's no longer these crazy minus 170, plus 140 odds, I cashed in, just so you get transparency, right? I cashed in Morgan Charriere at, let me see, I got the number right here. I cashed in minus 115. Right? Just pure money line play, minus 115, said, let's go ahead and take it. I like the price of admission. If you lose, you're not mad, right? You're not mad at that. You're mad if it's a minus 170 and you lose on that one. So for Mariscal, is it enough dog to just go pure money line at plus 100?
Oh, plus 100. Yeah, actually, I do like that because I'm having trouble with these props, right? Plus 700, plus 1400 on the Mariscal side. Not a big fan of either of those. Looking for the dog. Plus 100 sounds really good to me. I don't know if you're going to get him at that good of numbers going on forward.
All right, so there you have it, folks. This is a contentious pick right here. I think Morgan is going to be too skilled on the feet, is going to be able to survive the grappling advances right there, and you're just going to be able to see, man, when that right hand starts popping out, man, the blood's flowing. My man AJ, when we doing that, Charriere is a very scary man. Mariscal, always a dog, so there's always a threat. So with that being said, give me the last pirate. You're rocking with Mariscal, and that is your picks. Let's move it on along to Ignacio Bahamondes versus Christos Giagos, man. This almost reminds me of the fight that we just watched right here with Fernando Padilla, right? So Fernando Padilla, he loses to Kyle Nelson. I was down. I'll be completely honest. I was like, yo, this dude might not be the guy that we thought he was, right? Is Ignacio Bahamondes set for the same treatment? Clearly not, because the odds makers have a minus 370 favorite against Christos Giagos, which is ridiculous. So that loss to Ludovic Klein. The game plan's pretty clear. Get in his face, don't let him be long and lanky, and take him down multiple times. Christos Giagos has the skill set to accomplish all of that. The question is, Ludovic Klein, Christos Giagos, you tell me, is the comparison apt?
I mean, yeah, it's an apt comparison, Derick. At least they're somewhere in the same range, right? Like I'm saying, Ludovic Klein's obviously a better all-around fighter, but Christos Giagos, man, you cannot sleep on Giagos at all, or you're gonna end up like the Zellhubers or like the Thiago Moiseses or the people that just overlook him, because this guy, dude, Giagos is a dog. He will bring the fight to your front door and then make you a sandwich as he's leaving, because this guy is very dangerous. But saying that, man, Ignacio Bahamondes has the tools and the youth and the ability to be able to nullify Giagos. It's just all a matter if Giagos can get his hands on him.
I think Giagos is he's a dog. He's in that Chepe Mariscal camp, right? Because you've seen some of the fights that he's lost, but you're like, if you're fighting these guys, you're game. Armin Sarukian, Thiago Moises, Daniel Zellhuber, Jakar Close, Charles Oliveira, right? All losses, but better than anybody that Ignacio Bahamondes has fought, right? So you have a lot of people, and this is the inner workings of X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, right? Saying Bahamondes is going to be the parlay buster, right? He's going to bust everybody's parlay. He's this massive favorite, and we're going to get kind of that Fernando Padilla treatment right here. What makes this fight against Bahamondes that much different than Giagos' last fight against Zellhuber, who, preface, Zellhuber I think is the future of the sport personally, but what makes this so much more different?
That's a good question, Derick. I mean, in my mind, the biggest difference right here that could be a bonus, could be a fault to Bahamondes is he's down to brawl, man. He's down to sit in that pocket and exchange some knuckles right there. And if he does that with Giagos, who knows what the outcome's going to be?
That's it. I will say this, man. Christos Giagos, first round is a scary, scary man. So who knows what he can get done in this first round, legitimately. But as the rounds go on, I do anticipate if he can't hold Bahamondes down and, again, keep it dirty for 15 entire minutes, as long as Bahamondes can get out at range, he's a scary prospect, man. If you look at the reach advantage, 4-inch reach advantage, the legs are going to be much longer. He's 6'3". Giagos is 5'10". Not saying it's something new, but I do think that it's just the intangibles are going to be too much. So let's take a look at these numbers. This is absolutely, I'm not touching this one. Money line, no. Minus, because if you look at the live odds right now, minus 360, and it hasn't moved, right? It's pretty much the same odds here. So if you're going to prop this one, which you can if you want, I'm staying away completely. If you're going to prop this one, what's the play right here? I have a feeling, because there's two plays. It's the submission play for Bahamondes, right? Or it's going to be the decision play if you're rolling with him. If it's Giagos, I really think that you're going to be banking on a submission. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like that Bahamondes decision. I mean, with the wildness and the chaos that could occur in the fight, I don't know if it's going to end up there, but decision makes a lot of sense, especially for that long drawn out fight and very bloody and an exciting fight nonetheless. But still, I see Bahamondes not being able to find his moment to finish Giagos. I mean, I could see a submission coming from the Giagos side, but I don't know, Derick. Do you see any finishes actually happening on this fight?
I totally can see a finish right here, man. It's the same way that it happened the last go around against Zellhuber for Christos Giagos, man. You guys are doing grappling transitions. Bahamondes with the super long arms sneaks in there, or vice versa. A transition, Giagos takes his back and chokes him out, anacondas him, something like that, man. These guys are very, very talented, and I do not expect this to be a full striking match, because if this is just a pure striking match, give me Bahamondes KO. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. Like, Christos Giagos is a dog, but give me the Bahamondes KO. Again, this is one of those where I don't think we're going to repeat history. I think that this is a get-back spot for Bahamondes. He's just against a really game opponent in Giagos. So let's see if he's up to the level of a Daniel Zellhuber or Fernando Padilla or whatever the case may be. But the Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick is chalk Ignacio Bahamondes. AJ, I've yet to hear your opinion, but again, my opinion for the folks who are watching at home, this is a stay away. I don't touch this. What do you think?
This is a stay away for me as well. I mean, if you want to roll with the dog, go ahead, but I'm staying away.
There we go. Fair play. All right. And then, AJ, we got a battle of some unknowns. Walter Walker, Johnny Walker's little brother, versus Lucas Brzeski. And this is a heavyweight bout where the line has changed substantially on this one, folks. Opening odds, as you can see, minus 400 for the debutant in Walter Walker. Brzeski, he's got some UFC experience, right? Plus 300. If you look at the line right now, it's moved to minus 260 for Walker and plus 210 for Brzeski. So what this means is money's coming in on Brzeski, but I don't know if I trust it, man. I don't know if I trust either of these fighters. Brzeski, he's what, 0-3 in the UFC? I think so. I'm not sure if the Dylan Potter fight was in the UFC. That was a no contest, so it didn't count anyways. But I'm pretty sure he's winless. That's the point, right? Walter Walker, on the other hand, it's so much unknowns, man. It's a lot of finishes, a lot of decisions. You watch his regional tape. He's athletic, He's heavyweight, athletic, you love it, right? But what stands out to you about this fight, man? All that stands out to me is originally after watching tape, as I said, Brzeski's the puncher. Walker, he could mix it up. He could take it down. He could do that stuff. But nothing really popped off the page from either fighter. What'd you think?
Yeah, for me, Derick, I mean, as far as Brzeski goes, he's very long, he's tall, he's able to use his length. But other than that, I mean, nothing really was sitting there like I'm clamoring to write down. I mean, his chin got tested, so we're going to see if that's going to get tested again. For Walker, on the other hand, I agree with you. He's fast, he is athletic. He has a very snappy jab and a little bit durable, able to pressure and have good fight IQ. But other than that, Derick, I mean, those are all just kind of basic stuff most fighters need, and especially at the heavyweight division. Nothing is super exciting or having everybody just clamoring to see these two fighters go at it. Hopefully Walker's able to prove something different, because I see more shine on his name. Yeah. But that's it, man.
do you pay the price of admission even at minus 260 for an unknown Walker versus Brzeski, who, again, it almost seems like kind of layup right here. Like, you want to go Walker, but I just don't think he's proven enough yet.
No, I don't pay that. What'd you say, minus 250 or whatever it was right now? And yeah. No way, man.
Yeah, it was minus 260 right there. So I don't pay it either. You look at the TKO prop, minus 115. I think the TKO is just as likely on either side of this, honestly. Brzeski could catch him. It could be a wrap. He could tire him out rounds 2 and 3. I don't know, man. But if you look at the last three, Martin Buday, Carl Williams, and Waldo Cortez Acosta for Brzeski, these are not bad fighters. But the way he got chinned against Waldo Cortez Acosta was a little concerning. And it's interesting to see how he will bounce back. So, again, folks, we're transparent with you guys. For the sake of this program, there's a head-to-head competition. I got some shiny belts. AJ got a shiny belt behind him. That's what we're vying for this year. But in the sake of the pocketbooks, there's no bet to be placed on this one. I'm not touching it. Do you like anything about this, AJ? I'm going to pull up one last thing, and let me see. Here it goes. Over and under for this fight, AJ, let's call it. The over and under, 1.5 rounds, minus 180 for the over, plus 150 for the under. You touching it?
Minus 180 for the over, Derick. I was thinking this fight might end in the under, so maybe, but I'm not sold.
Okay, fair enough. Again, stay away, but the consensus pick is going to be Walter Walker. We're taking the favorite. And then to open us up, nothing but pure violence right here. You got a man throwing pure hammers at you, Trevor Peek, versus the cannibal, Charlie Campbell right here, man. I'm really high on this guy, Charlie Campbell. I want to say that off of the bat, right? Because this dude I think is really good. But you have such an unknown in front of you in Trevor Peek that I don't know where to go here, AJ. And I'm not too heavy on this because you got to respect the athlete. But when it comes down to wagering, this is a serious affair right here. And I have a fade list. Trevor Peek is on my fade list right now. And the reason why is because he burst onto the scene throwing unorthodox strikes, something that where it's like when it comes out of nowhere and you've never seen it before, oh my God, what's happening, right? He caught somebody, right? Who'd he catch? Eric Gonzalez. He caught him. Boom, right? Then you fight Chepe Mariscal, and Mariscal dogged him out. And then you fight Muhammad Yahya, right? You get a win, but it was a much more conservative approach. It was not the throwing crazy hammers Trevor Peek. What version of Trevor Peek shows up against Charlie Campbell? Because I think the best version of Trevor Peek is the erratic crazy man. What do you think?
I agree with you, Derick. I think that's the best version. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's what we're going to get. I think if we do see that version of Trevor Peek, it's going to be late round 1, getting into round 2. I think he's going to take a little calmer approach, kind of like we saw in the Yahya fight. Going to be feeling out, going to be using the length, going to be having that motion of in and out, right? The blitz attack, if you will. But man, I'm with you with Charlie Campbell, dude. I am very high on this prospect, very fast, twitchy, down for a brawl. I mean, that's why I like the under on this one, because both fighters are down to get in there and get scrappy. But still, I do see this being a little slower of a start, if you will.
And that's kind of the problem right there, because when you look at Charlie Campbell's game, I think the most effective way to be able to cash in on that finish if you're Trevor Peek is overwhelm him. Too much data, get in his face, throw crazy angles, right? But you want to play the technical game with Charlie Campbell, and in my opinion, that's asking for that plus 130 TKO prop to hit right there, you know what I mean? So Trevor Peek, one thing we know about him is he's durable. We definitely know that. This dude literally finished everybody before jumping into this last 2-fight run that he's on, man. So we know, live by the sword, die by the sword. This fight goes into rounds 2 and round 3. He's coming off of 2 decision fights, 1 loss and 1 win. He gets into the late rounds against Charlie Campbell. Do you think Campbell has the ability to finish him in the late rounds, or does it have to come early?
Oh man, I think if his head's into the late rounds, I see both fighters right here being very tired. So I don't know if I see a finish coming. That's why I like the finish at the under 1.5. Still early in the fights, chaos is still going on. That's where I see the finish taking place.
Easy. I think the striking of Charlie Campbell is going to be too much. Trevor Peek might try to do a little bit of grappling. Didn't work out too well for him on the last run. But in the grand scheme of things, I just like Charlie Campbell as a pure play right here. Minus 225 was the open. We look at the odds right now. Minus 180 for Charlie Campbell. They're throwing money on Trevor Peek. What does this mean, folks? This means you cash in minus 180 on Charlie Campbell. We're still sticking with the favorite. Fair price of admission. Again, Trevor Peek personally on my fade list, especially in a matchup like this. So I think that's a fair play. I'm sticking away from any of the props here because I think that there's a little too uncertain, and that's how I'm going to call it. So Charlie Campbell, AJ, that is our Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. And with that being said, that is your main card recap, folks. That's everything. We didn't recap it, but we predicted it. We broke it down. So there's only a couple things left to do, and of course we need to highlight the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. AJ, let's jump into some sleepers.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up. All right, folks, you heard the king. You keep sleeping, we're going to wake you up. But we got a couple of prospects right here that we're about to drop in on the big screen. And yeah, these guys are definitely going to wake you up. Now, AJ, you got, normally I would hit the buzzer and it would be the breaking news and all that. This isn't that big of a deal right here. But we have a short notice switch up right here. This guy was not supposed to fight Cesar Almeida just a couple days ago, but now he is. AJ, talk to the people. What do you got here?
Very short notice fight for Dylan Budke right here, man. And why I'm choosing this as a sleeper, why I'm excited. I admittedly more excited for Cesar Almeida, but the what's his name? The Madness Elk, the Mindless Hulk or whatever it is.
Yep.
This guy walks down and is down to brawl, and that's why I think this one's a sleeper right here, folks. It's going to provide Cesar Almeida with the opportunities and the chaos to be able to get a finish right here. And if Almeida doesn't show up, Budke is going to put the knuckles to work and actually be working right here. But you can see, man, a lot of people are favoring Almeida. Don't sleep on Budke. I do like Almeida a lot more, but the Mindless Hulk can do what he does and just walk forward and beat people up.
Fair play right here. One thing that you got to remember, I'll just say this. I've been thinking about this the entire time. Cesar Almeida, people love him. The dude's 36 years old. You got to go. Now's the time right there. So let's see if the young gun can step up to the plate. Let's see what happens. But AJ, sometimes I cheat on this program, and I'm cheating here again. Folks, just so you know, I had an original sleeper, and it was the same situation as AJ's. The fight got canceled. It was Alatang Haley versus Victor Hugo. That was going to be a banger. I didn't like the rebooked match, so instead I said let's roll with Piera Rodriguez because I just think some people still aren't familiar with her game. Shout out to Shaq, right? He's like, oh, so I apologize. I was unfamiliar with your game. No, we're very familiar with La Fiera because look, let's just take a look at the slate right here. Cynthia Calvillo is desperately trying to get back on a winning streak. Tons of hype. 36 years old, dropping back down to 115 pounds. Well, guess what? La Fiera is coming off of a submission loss to Jillian Robertson in a division where she's pretty much able to bully just about everybody, pick them up, drop them down, do whatever she wants to them. Great grappling mixed with some striking. This is going to be a fun contest because you know Cynthia Calvillo 100% back against the wall. She's coming forward through and through. And then you had the formerly undefeated Piera Rodriguez. Listen, man, trying to get that dub back, trying to get back into the win column. Women's MMA, you got to love it. This is going to be a banger right here. So check out that. And with that being said, AJ, we do have a little bit of time. This is going to be a short episode this go around, but it's okay because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple prelims that matter here. So let's go ahead and let's bring up the big screen one more time. And AJ, let's not disrespect nobody. Have some respect for the Iron Lady, Germaine de Randamie, against Norma Dumont, man. So you got the Immortal versus the Iron Lady. This is kind of the entire point right here. 40 years old, Germaine de Randamie. She's looking to come back. And let's not forget, her last fight, AJ, she submitted Juliana Pena, who is like arguably one of like the best, like on paper, one of the best fighters in the division right here. So she comes on to face a Norma Dumont, who, let's be real, has been primarily a featherweight fighter, right, in a division that doesn't exist. But she's been one of the most formidable, who's fought some of the best opposition that the women's MMA has to offer in the UFC. What do you think about this matchup?
Man, every time Norma Dumont fights, I'm excited to see her actually pop off the page and do what I think she can do and that has the skills in the gym to get going. And arguably up against one of the toughest fighters that still didn't Germaine de Randamie retire? So she's coming back.
No, she had a baby.
That's what it was. Okay, I thought there was a break, but I mean, hey, Mama Bear de Randamie right there. And that's a hard one to mess with. I do like Dumont in this one, but man, you never sleep on de Randamie.
It's hard, man. It's hard because the logic says Dumont, 40-year-old GDR coming off the couch, man. No, she's been training hard and all that. She got mom strength now, so it's a little bit different. But MMA fairy tales do not exist for the most part, folks. So that's why I say GDR, 40 years old. She's going to try to do what? She's going to try to come in and strike against Dumont. She's big. She got power. That's cool. But Dumont's big. And she got power. She could strike and she could grapple. Remember, she had, what's her name? She had Chelsea Chandler sprinting, trying to get out the cage, man. If the fence wasn't there, it'd be issues. So, listen, all respect to GDR, man, because she's fought the best. She was a champion. Look at that. Look at Nunez right there. That's the only big loss that she has. But her last fight was in 2020. So, it just comes down to this. This is one where I'm risking it, AJ. I'm risking it. I shouldn't do it, but I'm doing it anyways. And I'm betting on this one. But I'm not betting on a victor. I'm just betting on over 2.5 rounds. If GDR comes in and just starches her or Dumont starches her, I'm going to be not a happy camper. But the point is, you shouldn't bet on this. You shouldn't bet on this big of an unknown, should you?
Oh man, I like the prop, but no, Derek. I mean, I'm not really betting on this one at all.
All right, fair enough. All right, man. Let's see what else that we got here, AJ. What pops off the page to you?
I think the only one, or one of the few that pops off the page, Derek, it has to be Court McGee, Alex Morono. I mean, there's a reason it's the main fight of the prelim card. Yeah. Court McGee, they're both older fighters, right? Alex Morono. I think the only reason I like this one is this really gives a chance for Alex Morono to shine and get to work, man. We know this guy. He has slid in under the radar as far as exciting fighters, but Morono has all the capabilities to be an exciting fighter. And if you let a 39-year-old Court McGee put it to you, this might be time to go. So I think a lot's on the table for both of these fighters right here.
Not just a 39-year-old Court McGee. You're looking at a dude who just got chinned twice in his last two. This is a dude who was the most durable guy. He was the crusher. The chin is starting to wear a little bit, and that's where it gets a little bit concerning. So, yeah, I like the fight. I think it's going to be a big one. This is another one where they're throwing Morono in a billion parlays, so you better hope he's not your parlay buster right there, because who knows? This is Court McGee right here. But, AJ, with that being said, I'm just going to highlight one last one. We're not going to talk about it, but Dan Argueta versus Gene Matsumoto. A lot of people really high on the 24-year-old prospect right here, undefeated. Dan Argueta, ultimate dog. You know, this is a dude who's, you know, he's 9-1, man. Not got a lot of losses. And that loss that he had, let's just say, you know, he's definitely made up in advance for that one. So this is one that I want people to watch. It could be a sleeper. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But through and through, that is your pour over, excuse me. So, folks, we made it to another outro right here. Really what matters in the grand scheme of things is that these are the cards you have to get through to get to the big ticket cards next week, UFC 300. We're not even going to talk about it because every fight is a main event. So we're going to break it all down then. Give us some time to do some tape study. But for the time being, this is a UFC 90 breakdown, folks. Catch us on Monday for the post show where we're going to be recapping all of the bets, what hit, what didn't, and talk about the hottest headlines of the week. AJ, as always, get us out of here, my friend.
Folks, like Derick said, this might be one of the ones for the casuals that they're just going to skip on, right? You're waiting for the next big event, but these are the events, I should say. These types of events are the ones that put money in your pocket, and you know who's doing it better than anybody else out there. We're right here for you. If you made it to this part, man, I do got to say thank you, because normally I'm over here demanding things, but I'm still going to demand it anyway. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, man. Make sure you share with your friends. Like I said, these are the weeks where you put more money in your pocket than anybody else out there, because they're all sleeping, and like the king says, keep sleeping on them. We're going to wake you up right here at the Bloody Water Podcast.
That's it for us, folks. And until next time, peace.